Hey, what's going on, Who Dat Nation? Welcome to another edition of the State of the Saints podcast, where we talk New Orleans Saints. My name is TJ Jones. Thanks for checking out the podcast. I really do appreciate it. Well, Who Dat Nation, the first preseason game for the New Orleans Saints in the 2019 season is in the books, and they started off with a loss. They lose to the Minnesota Vikings by a score of 34-25, and I want to say thank you to those that checked out the video that I put out right after the game. And I want to say thank you for your feedback. I seen a lot of people, chiming in about some of the things that I said. Some of the people probably thought that some of my views about the game were controversial, being that it was a preseason game and the first preseason game at that. Look, the only thing I have to say to individuals, look, I love the New Orleans Saints. I think that anybody that ever looked at one of my videos, I think that's pretty apparent. And if you're like one of those Saints fans that want me to sing the praises of the New Orleans Saints every video, then this is probably not the podcast for you, because I feel like I owe you all a fair assessment of the New Orleans Saints, and that's what I try to do. I don't try to sit up here and try to blow smoke up anybody's behind. If a player plays good, I'm going to tell you. If a player plays not so good, I'm going to tell you. Just like I'm going to do right now. And I got an opportunity to take a look at the game once again. And I really want to talk about some of the bright spots first. I want to talk about Teddy Bridgewater. I want to talk about Teddy Bridgewater, who had an incredible game. He went 14 of 19, 134 yards, one touchdown. He had a 110 passer rating, and he did an outstanding job, man. He had real control of the pocket. He showed a lot of leadership out there. I think that Teddy Bridgewater coming back to New Orleans Saints was a really, really good look. And it tells me that Coach Sean Payton and the Saints offensive staff really are looking at this guy to possibly be the successor to Drew Brees once he retires. I think that Teddy Bridgewater will be a suitable replacement for Drew Brees once he does retire. I like the way that Teddy Bridgewater played, but one thing that really concerns me was the time that he held on to the football. Okay, I mean, I think he was getting a little bit too greedy out there, trying to hold on, trying to get the big play. Sometimes you got to take what the defense gives you and count on your playmakers to get those yards after the catch and pick up those first downs. But Teddy Bridgewater did a good job. Next, we're going to talk about the next quarterback, Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill, it was an up and down night for him. It was an up and down night. And once again, I understand how people feel about Taysom Hill. A lot of people in the Who Dat Nation have adopted him as the fan favorite. They want to see him do well. But sometimes I feel like when people want individuals to do well, they tend to look past some of their imperfections. They tend to look past some of the things they struggle with. And I think this is the case with Taysom Hill. If you think that he had a better night than Teddy Bridgewater, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe you're just drinking the Taysom Hill Kool-Aid. And I understand that. I mean, this guy's a remarkable athlete. He's a guy who goes out there. He gives his all. He's fighting for those extra yards. It's been times when the Saints been down and the Saints call his number and he does something magical to get these guys a spark. I understand all that. But that's not going to win you Super Bowls. That's just not going to win you Super Bowls. You got to be able to go out there and execute. I seen a pass. I think it was maybe like second and goal or third and goal. The Saints probably could have got a touchdown. Taysom Hill goes on a rollout, tries to pass the ball to Derby, the tight end, and he just grounds it. I mean, just completely sticks it into the ground. If Derby probably would have caught that pass, it probably would have went into the end zone for a touchdown. I mean, stuff like that, man, you got to pay attention to. And I think that's something that he just needs to work on. I mean, this guy's a great athlete, but his mechanics as a quarterback is questionable, to say the least, in my opinion. I mean, but I think he had an up and down night. Of course, that interception that was thrown was not his fault. We're going to talk about Dan Arnold in a minute. But, I think that there was some things that Taysom Hill could have done better. But I think that Teddy Bridgewater had a better night than him. Some people are making an argument to say that, well, Teddy Bridgewater played with the starters and, Taysom Hill played with the third team. Well, they're going to switch it up, I guess, for the Los Angeles Charger game. So we're really going to be able to see how Taysom Hill plays when he has first teamers at the helm. So I think that the quarterbacks, when it comes down to it, Teddy Bridgewater had a better night than Taysom Hill. The running back position, you got to be very optimistic if you're a Saints fan that was kind of skeptical about Latavius Murray. I mean, I know we in the Who Dat Nation, we miss Mark Ingram. We miss what he brings to the locker room, to the field. But Latavius Murray showed you that he is an adequate replacement for Mark Ingram. I mean, he caught the ball out the backfield, which a lot of NFL media people were saying that he struggled. He did a good job catching the ball out the backfield. He caught one screen pass for 17 yards. He fought for the extra yards. That's all you want to see. I think out of the running backs, Dwayne Washington stood out. I mean, a guy who I've been singing praises for quite some time, man. I think that he is probably going to get that third spot at the running back position. You know, he's going to be a part of that rotation. And I honestly think that he is going to be one of those running backs later on in the year alongside Alvin Kamara that's going to be leading the team and leading the charge. And I think that Latavius Murray, you know, as good as he played, he still has a history of being injured all the time. So, I mean, he had a good night against the Minnesota Vikings, his former team. But at the end of the day, you got to stay healthy, you know, all 16 games. That's always been questionable to me, the health of Latavius Murray, but he did a good job. So, and also Dwayne Washington did an outstanding job as well. At the wide receiver position, a couple people that stood out to me, Cyril Grayson Jr. Cyril is a guy, of course, from LSU. He's a local fan favorite. I think he had a 32-yard catch. It was a contested catch, so for him to go up and catch that ball really shows that he wants it. I like the hustle. I like the speed. Of course, we know that he's a track star, so of course we know he got that world-class speed. So, and for him to catch a ball like that, you know, that shows that he's really, really hungry. So I'm excited about that. Lil Jordan Humphreys, he had a good game. I mean, he had 2 catches for 42 yards and a touchdown. And he fought for the touchdown. He broke a couple tackles. He's showing that, you know, that 6'4", 220-pound body is hard to bring down. I mean, Traquan Smith, he had a drop pass. You don't want to see that, especially him. We want him to emerge as the number 2 receiver. So I like the wide receiver core, but I didn't like some of the things I seen at the tight end position out of Dan Arnold. Dan Arnold, once again, one of those players that had an up and down night. The Saints had an opportunity to get a drive going. He dropped the ball and it ended up being intercepted and returned for a touchdown. Dan Arnold, I don't know if I guess like the thought of the NFC Championship game and him returning to the scene of the crime, maybe it was a little bit too much for him. Maybe he needs to find some better scenery, maybe get his head right, because it seems like Dan Arnold is out there thinking way too much. And I think that when he doesn't think, I think he goes out there and he plays well. But when he starts to think about making mistakes, and when he think about missing blocking assignments, and when he think about not catching the ball, he makes mistakes. And that's going to cause him to get cut if he continues to play that way. I think that he has a lot of talent. I think that he's really hard on himself, but you got to go out there and you got to execute, man. You got to make sure that teams can rely on you and depend on you in the clutch to make those plays. And yesterday, I have to say, man, I was very disappointed at the what I seen out of Dan Arnold on that drive, man. Should have caught the ball, and he ended up costing the team the game, you know, because Minnesota was able to get that pick six, and the Saints were never able to recover from it. Kind of similar to the opportunity that he had in the NFC Championship game when he should have caught that touchdown from Drew Brees. On the defensive side of the football, the run defense on last night was absolutely horrible. I must say, it was horrible in this game. You know, I don't know what was going on. You had some starters that were up front. I understand it's preseason, and people are like, man, it's preseason. But you got to be able to execute. You got to go out there. You got to put forth some type of an effort. People, you know, I seen some comments. People were saying that, all these guys don't need to go full throttle. They don't want to get hurt. No, we don't want them to get hurt. But you risk a higher chance of getting hurt if you're going out there half stepping, okay? If you're not caring, okay, there's a possibility you can end up getting hurt, okay? And you also lose your spot. I mean, Sean Payton isn't one of those guys that you can tell is one of those people who just look at guys and be like, okay, man, that's my starting cornerback. That's my starting linebacker. He's looking for guys that actually want it. And he's open to any individual that comes in and put forth a better effort than the guys that are familiar with the Who Dat Nation. He will put those guys in the game over some of our fan favorites. You remember Kenny Vaccaro? You remember he blew some tackles and he missed some assignments. And then what happened? Sean Payton benched this man. He benched him. And now you see Kenny Vaccaro, he's playing for the Tennessee Titans. I mean, he's not one of those guys that sit around and won't lollygag and pussyfoot with players. Okay, so you got to put forth an effort. The secondary, man, very, very suspect. I know a lot of people are beating up Eli Apple. People saying that Eli Apple is trash. I'm not going to say Eli Apple is trash. I've seen much worse. Okay, I've been watching the New Orleans Saints for a very, very long time. A very long time. I mean, do I have to tell you about the dark days of Fred Weary and Fred Thomas and Jason Smoke Turkey David? Well, I can tell you, man, I can give you some names now. I mean, that's trash. Where Eli Apple is, maybe he's not where he needs to be. Maybe he'll blow an assignment. Maybe a wide receiver with elite ability like Adam Thielen will catch a pass on him. But at the end of the day, he is better than all of those individuals that I just named. I still believe in Eli Apple. I think that he's going to play really well this season. I think he's going to play much better than he did last season. And I'm not looking at that play with Adam Thielen, man. That was just an incredible catch, man. I'm telling you, some players are just elite. These guys catch everything that a person throw to them. I mean, I can show you a highlight of Adam Thielen catching a pass over Marshawn Lattimore, man, a well-covered pass, okay? So it can happen to anybody. I'm not ready to give up on Eli Apple, man. I mean, if you give up on Eli Apple, who you going to put in his place? Ken Crawley? I mean, honestly, man, Ken Crawley looked absolutely slaw out there. And for those that don't know what slaw means, that means straight hot garbage. Okay, so I like Eli Apple and I like Marshawn Lattimore, on their respective sides. And I'm not ready to give up on Eli Apple. And Marcus Davenport, I was looking for a little bit more out of him. I was looking for him to actually make a few tackles. I knew he was being double teamed, of course, but there were opportunities where he could have made sacks when he was in one-on-one, and he didn't do so, man. So I understand it's preseason. It's the first game. It's the opportunity to clean some things up, watch the tape, and come back and put forward a better effort. But what I seen in week 1 shows me that the Saints still have a lot of work to do. But I would like to hear from you. Let me know what you thought about the first preseason game for the New Orleans Saints. What did you like? What didn't you like? Who stood out? Comment down below, like, and share this video. This has been the State of the Saints podcast. Previous episodes are available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio.com. And please subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com. Search The State of the Saints podcast. Till next time, all I have to say is, who dat?